I'm Nick J Townsend. You're watching Clingfilm the series. This is a TV show dedicated to listening to musicians and actors and directors and creatives, I hate that word, creatives from the music and entertainment industry, and we want to find out how they got where they are and where they're going, and maybe even where they've come from. But we don't really care about where they came from because they're in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and that's all that matters. I'm Nick J Townsend.
Before I moved here, I always had a big this thing going on, just this. And once I moved to Hollywood, I didn't know any better, so I shaved clean. And it was very much not who I was. You know, I liked facial hair, and mainly because I hate my chin. But I just liked that. It made me feel like a bigger man. I don't know. Who knows why we do things?
I like half of that.
Right, yeah, I see. You like half of you got a whole half thing going on.
20 years, I don't know why.
I love it. I grew my beard back out, not with a plan, but more for just, this is how I like to look. And by the way, there were no beards in Hollywood at the time. It was Zach Galifianakis was the only guy, and he was kind of relatively an underground comic. He blew up with The Hangover. And I had already had my beard out, and it's funny because everyone was telling me, you're not going to work with a beard. You're not, and I was like, this is how I'm comfortable, this is what I want, I'm not booking anything anyway, why don't I just be how I want to look? And my commercial agent at the time said, we don't want you to do this, we don't want you to look this way, this is not going to get you any jobs. And sure enough, I started booking commercials. Those were the first things that I worked on.
Yeah.
And I've got like 35 national commercials under my belt now.
And you got a lot of TV shows as well.
Yeah. And it was because I just did, you know, not necessarily, I didn't plan that out, but it was because I did what I wanted to do, which was true to me, which was I like this look, it's good for me, it's how I was comfortable before I came to LA, and this is who I am. And I think whenever you stick to that, when you stick to that and you stick to who you are, it's going to eventually, if you have talent and you have the ability to just hang in there, at some point it's going to come through for you, and your thing is going to be your thing. And Zach Galifianakis with the Hangover movie, that blew up big, and suddenly after that, every dude in Hollywood grew his beard out. It was crazy. And sports dudes started growing, like baseball stars started growing there. And then I would go into auditions, and literally every guy would have a beard. And if you watch TV now, there's always at least one guy with a beard, but it's funny, then there were no guys with beards on commercials or otherwise.
Do you think you may have actually helped start the hipster beard craze?
Some people will say I'm a douche for saying it, but I absolutely think so.
Seems you'd rather just give up than to see the glory again.
Originally, you were in a band called Torous, and you decided to move to the USA.
Yeah.
And obviously, that made some things have to stop in order to start again musically for you.
Yeah.
And you have a new project now. And how do you feel going from one band to another, effectively having to start again?
Well, it's hard actually starting again, and moving over here and giving up Torous was hard because I really cared about that band, put a lot of years into that band, put my soul into that band. was very fortunate to do pretty well. We did a lot of great national tours, did some festivals, did very well on like ticket sales and streams and all that. And it was hard because I really put a lot of myself into Torous, but it was a necessary thing for my personal life, of course, moving over here, which is what made that decision. That band for me and that songwriting process was all about pain. Everything was about perhaps the worst period of my life. And I look at this as like a phoenix rising. This is an opportunity to create music that isn't just about pain. This might be something in a completely different format in terms of philosophically. And that's exciting because maybe moving here was necessary to close a chapter of that part of my life. Maybe Torous was just necessary like a drug. You take a drug when you need it, but when you don't need it anymore, you need to stop doing that. And I think that Torous might have been that.
What is your new project?
Sovereign Sun. That's the band. That's what I've been putting the last year and a half of my songwriting process into. It's going to sound a bit like Torous in many ways because I was the songwriter in Torous and I created all the music. So it's going to have Celtic elements, it's going to have heavy elements, of course. The message behind the band is different, and I think that the music, the direct nature of that reflects it. It's very, very strong, very, very powerful. Perhaps more digestible as well, because it's not 8-minute tracks, but it's heavy, it's authentic, it's real. And I'm very, very proud of it, and I'm very, very excited to get this stuff out. I think people are going to be very, very surprised. Paths to success, what I really care about is making an impact. And if I can make an impact here, then I've done everything that I wanted to do in this life, in this career, in this music. And that's really all I want. I think that I bring a rawness from the home of metal and a message, you could look at that as a philosophical message or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't exist here. This place needs me.
This place needs you.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
Wow, what do you think of the music scene around here?
Music scene's great. It's no reflection of that, and there are more talented people than me here, so don't get that twisted. What I think I mean by that it needs me is it needs an element that isn't from here. I mean, we have some of the most talented musicians in the world here, but what it needs from me is a rawness, I think, and something that comes from that industrial Birmingham metal sound that was created, of course, in Birmingham. Match that with the polished nature of California and you know, all of that. I think that you have a nice marriage there. But the music scene is expansive. Like I say, I mean, California is bigger than our country, so there's a lot to tackle here. The problem with LA and the problem with, and it isn't so much an American problem, it is very much a Sunset Strip problem in many ways. Pay to play is a problem because when we were starting out in Torous in Birmingham, you know, we weren't having to pay for tickets. We were selling tickets for, you know, $3 to $5. Now, you know, you're trying to sell tickets for $10+ and you're having to spend the money on 20 tickets. That's a problem. The competition level's a problem. The restrictions on venues are a problem. Like not being able to smoke outside. That sounds trivial, but it isn't trivial.
Oh, it's very important.
It's very important when you're hanging around with metal people to smoke outside venues, to smoke out back. So there are problems. Beer prices here are like 3 times, maybe even 4 times the price that they are in Birmingham. But let's go with 3 times the price. You know, so there are various restrictions that do make it a lot harder when you're starting a band. But there are, of course, other benefits. There, you know, the size of it, as I say, and the scope of what you can do.
You finally found what it was you were looking for.
Everyone seems to keep bringing pay to play up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In LA, there are great venues, but the majority of them are outside of the Sunset Strip. You know what I mean? We played at the Viper last year, and it was great show, but it wasn't pay to play. You know, anytime you want to play at the Roxy, the Key Club, any of those, unless you have a big management deal with somebody, or, you know, even if you're opening up with another band, chances are a promoter's gonna, you know, hit you up and be like, hey, you can open up for, you know, big band A, right, whatever that genre is for you, but you got to give me $1,000. And if you don't give me $1,000, you're not going to get on stage. Oh, and by the way, I'm not going to promote it at all. I'm just going to put it on the website. And
so you've got to really do all the work. You've got to pay the money, and
it doesn't make I always tell people, if you went for a job interview, your manager said you got the job. Now, when can you pay me? Right? Like, if your manager said that to you as the person that just got hired, you would walk right out the door. So us as musicians, why is it any different? We're providing a service. We're bringing in revenue to the club, right? There's certain bands that shouldn't be playing at clubs when they're brand new. If you are a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds, you've never played a show before, you're not going to sell out the whiskey. You know what I mean? So play at the Slide Bar or play at your friend's backyard or something like that. Like, there's other opportunity, especially when you're in the center of the universe. There's never a lack of places where you can play.
well, it was a great episode, so great, it deserves an award. But as I'm an award-winning musician anyway, it'll be just another one for the shelf. Next episode, we'll speak to some other people who probably haven't got awards, but we want to hear what they've got to say, because it's great. If you'd like a serious career in the music industry, then continue to watch these episodes. Please like and subscribe, and hopefully we can all learn something together.
Relinquish your inhibitions, I'm not so sure.